Kalpona, the situation now after Rana Plaza, did it change anything for workers? Can you tell me what has happened after Rana Plaza?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's a good question. So, after Rana Plaza, it's a 10 years now already. So, if we talk about the changes, we can only say that the change has made, that is area of safety. Like, the factories are not in that situation that we can have another Rana Plaza like tomorrow or day after. Maybe there will be fire or building accident, but we hope that our workers will be not dying. That improvement has been done because Accord was working constantly last 10 years and they made this phenomenal change. Apart from these, I cannot demand that any other worker rights issues has been improved in the last 10 years.
So what about salaries? I think the minimum salary still is at 8,000. No worker can live from this. What is your demand now after 5 years of having just 8,000 taka? What is your demand?
So, last 5 years, as you said, that there is no wage review. So, the inflation that we are facing, everyone facing in the world, but for workers, it is so difficult. They cannot live with that money at all. And if they have children, it is so difficult. They have to cut the menu from, food menu for adults and also children in the same time because that money is not enough. It's a poverty wages. It's a raw bottom wages that our workers get. And what is the demand? Yes, it is 8,000 taka. We definitely demand a living wage, which would be like 6 or 7 times than this. But now we are demanding 23,000 taka as a minimum wage because we feel that would be adequate minimum wage for now, compared to inflation that we are facing. But if you ask me that what wage I demand or our organization demand, that's a living wage. Because we want our job, in a different way, not the way that they are giving us.
And what would be the living wage more or less?
The living wage would be like more, near to 50,000 taka for workers because the cost of living is so high. If government can control the cost of living, we will be not demanding that many, that much. That can be way less. But if cost of living goes high like this, we don't have any other choice. So the living wage would be like 50,000, near to 50,000.
So can you say, is there a difference between the brands? Those brands that are more expensive in Germany, do they pay different salary or do they have better working conditions than the discounters like Cake, like Aldi? Is there any difference in the working conditions?
No, I don't see, or we don't see any difference in the working condition between the brands. Those are like high-end or those are like really selling cheap clothes, okay? I don't see any difference in the working condition or payment that workers are getting. Like in one factory, you're going to see like both brands are sourcing from, but the workers are getting same salaries. So that's a complete proof that there is no big difference. The brands might be paying less or more FOB to the factory owner, but that never reach out to the workers at all.
What about the health situation in the factories?
The health situation, like occupational health or just health?
Just health.
So the health is never been considered yet because we are fighting with very basic. Like we are fighting with our working hours. We are fighting with to get wages on time in the month. We are fighting with our factory should be safe. Like even health issues, we couldn't even focus on that way. The workers always get sick, and COVID made definitely things are different. During COVID, workers had like high-end antibiotic medicine for them to control their fever and cough, so they don't cough inside the factory, and factory management don't understand that they are infected or they are facing fever because they cannot afford to lose their job. So the workers are not seeing doctor, going to pharmacy and getting the medicine and living with that. But there are so much health issues in the factory that includes reproductive health to very basic like eye problem, spine problem, headache, dehydrations. All those are there, but nobody focus that. And also top of that SRA is one of the problems, like reproductive health, hand cleaning. How do how the women workers handling the things during their period? Those are like big issues in the industry, but very few focus that gets.
Okay. And during Corona, would you say? I mean, how did Corona affect workers? I heard that there was a big vaccination campaign here, so you had less death, at least less people dying than probably in other countries. So were the workers more or less well protected, or would you say it was also
like in the beginning, no one was protected, and not the worker. Like when you have 5,000 workers, just think about that. Before getting into the factory, washing their hands, how much time they will be needed, or just checking their temperature. It will take hours, right? But factory was like putting one kind of temperature machine. It's like the super frustrated one you can ever see, because they're not checking temperature at all. It is just showing, it's just show off. So there wasn't adequate equipment for them to wash their hand, or did not provide the mask. Many of them got infected, but we did not know the information because database is not there, and workers were so restricted to speak about it. So they were vulnerable, no doubt about it. They were vulnerable. But when the vaccine came, it is only good thing that was happened. We had equal rights on the vaccination. So it is not that the rich people got before or the poor people didn't. It was age group. So it was great. It was a great dissemination, and the country is expert for this because we handled so many disasters, or we handled the vaccination for other reasons, for children, for women, during their maternity. So the country has that experience. So we were able to disseminate the vaccination so easily, so quickly.
It's really effective. Now with respect to sports companies, do you have any sports companies like Adidas, Puma, or Nike? Are they producing it?
Yes, I mean the Puma, Nike, and Adidas do produce here. Adidas have few factories in here, but it's still, the factories where they are sourcing from, those factories doesn't have a freedom of association rights because they are in the export processing zone. So these kind of brands, like the high-end, who have high-end production, like in the sports, they always prefer to having their factories in the export processing zone, so they can get rid of all the worker rights issues. And when the issues come about Adidas, that we are running this campaign, pay your workers, and Adidas just sneak away, and they are not there to do the agreement with us to pay the money that they owe to the workers, which they still during the COVID, and they're not agreeing with putting money aside for the crisis like pandemic, that the workers in their supply chain should not be starving with their small children alone, and with the small children when we have emergency. So we are asking.
The campaign is more focused on other countries, not so much on Bangladesh, huh?
It is global, so it is not a country campaign.
Yeah, but the wage theft as such was not so much in Bangladesh, I think.
It was in Bangladesh, but when we talk about Adidas, it was in Cambodia, mostly.
Okay. So, and what would you say now about working conditions? Maybe just in short, again, Adidas or Puma, are working conditions better there than for others?
No, I mean, no one should demand that their working condition is better. Like Puma, Adidas, what they are sourcing from, their working condition better than others, because these all sourcing from same factory. Like even if in the APZ, how do you know that the Primark or the company like them, are not sourcing from in that factory? If they're sourcing from same factory, then how can they're providing a better working condition to the workers?
So it's always the same.
Always the same.
Yeah. Okay, now the sports events, like now the football again. Do you see here in the factories a higher pressure because of that event? That more products need to be produced for the fans and so on.
Yeah, I mean we don't produce that much, sports stuff in here, but the factories, those was making those jersey or whatever, they were under pressure, but not during like when the football game was happening. It was before.
Sure.
Because everything had to be in the stock before the game starts. So the workers were under pressure, but not that time. But again, we don't have many sports sources making factories in here.
Okay, I think last point, gender-based violence. What about gender-based violence in the factories? What do you know?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about gender-based violence, I should recognize that the support that FEMNET has made to BCWS, that really was phenomenal. We were able to breaking the taboo of these women, to break the silence and speak about it. So one good improvement has been done, that women are speaking about it now. So, which was like a lack of stories. No one would be talking about that. So that has been changed. The women are talking about that. Men are in the same box, discussing about it and discussing all this, breaking all this taboo. So, it is exist. We did not have the country did not ratify the ILO convention yet. The ILO convention was C190, that you can see in here. And also High Court verdict that we have, that is not followed in every factory or every workplaces. So the two things, there are few factories where we have committees are really running great. We have our people as an external representative in the committee. But when you talk to the industry, they will tell you that we have 600 factories where we have committee. But when you dig in, you're not going to see that who is in that committee. But we really had some great example that the women workers brought complaint against general managers. That I've been facing this for a long time, and that guy has been lost his job when he found guilty. And some cases we also found that it is like extraordinary that you see one Iron Man is harassing his supervisor, who is a female worker. So, it doesn't give you that when you are a man, doesn't it's like gives you a liberty. You can harass anyone, even she's your boss. So, that guy was guilty and got fired. When that has been proved. But one thing we are facing problem with, that the same guy taking job in other factory. What to do with that? So we're discussing on that. We really don't know that we are going to do counseling, or there should be some option on it. So bottom line is GBB is still there. We still need to campaign to get ILO convention to ratify, get a full law, and keep working on it. So as you know that BCWS is fighting for a job with dignity. So we have 5 pillars. So one of them are, 5 of them are wages, which is living wage, FOA, freedom of association at workplace, gender-based violence, safe workplace, and the last one is social protection for workers. That came from the COVID. So we are working on it in an international level. We are supporting Pay Your Workers campaign. At national level, we are pushing our government to have a law on the social protection. So this is what we are doing.
Can you tell me about certificates like Fair Trade or Global Organic Textile Standard? Have you heard about them?
Yes, I do heard about that. And when people talk about certificate, sometimes that makes me to do criticism because my experience, this certification never helped our workers. I think it is some kind of certification that give an extra, that extra effort, or no, not extra effort, I don't know, something like extra value for the brands to sell their products. It doesn't help our workers to their, increasing their wages. When you talk about fair trade, what do you mean by that? How it is being fair trade when workers getting not getting living wages, working on the poverty wages, long shifting hour, no work, voice in their workplace, and in an unsafe building. And I'm not talking about Bangladesh only. I'm talking about all the production countries, and the situation pretty much similar. So that certification, that doesn't tell that it is a fair trade.
But one could argue that the companies, the big buyers, they at least do carry out audits in these factories So they have approved apparently that working conditions have improved, or
So,
the environment has improved.
even all the brands, okay, it is for all the brands. When you have your own people hired as an auditor and factory management know when you're going there and workers are on coach on what to say, I don't know what kind of audit is that. And you have like the checkbox system. You go, how many lights supposed to be there? 20. Okay, check. But you don't know that light is adequate or not. How many toilets supposed to be there? You are doing checked. No, things doesn't work like that.
But they do also
And
interviews with workers
in front of the management and asking them how much wages you get, and that worker have to be, with pain inside, but outside that person need to be smiling and saying, I get like 10,000 taka, which is not true. Why not you dare to interview any workers outside of the factory? Why not you listening to the workers in their home where they feel safe and you make sure their jobs are protected? So
another demand would be also to publish the audit results.
Exactly.
They never do it.
Yeah.
You can say that yourself. But
Last thing I can say that, did you ever see any audit report that has been done by any of these brands? You never seen that. It is their own document, and out of that they will make a glossy report and make the consumers fool that this is how great we are. But why don't you demand to see that? We really wanted to see what is your original audit report is, and then you can cross-check with the organization like us, and we will be happy to assist that. Go back to the workers and ask them that, did you say that?
Exactly.
And yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Okay.